Hi, everybody. My name is Gene, and when I'm not drinking myself to a better me and writing computer code, I am also the father of twin boys. In 2005, my wife, Nicole, and I, we won the baby lottery, and we were blessed with two young boys that we named Miles and Owen. Now, 4 years later, we have arrived at the point where we have two incredibly voracious readers. How this happened, we're not exactly sure. We think it might have had something to do with the fact that we dumped a lot of books in their lap at a really young age and just let them paw through them and discover that they really liked them. So this is obviously a good thing, because we want to raise intelligent, thoughtful kids. And it wouldn't be Ignite without a painstakingly researched and scientifically accurate chart. So here you can see that the more books you read, the more awesome you become over time. So we obviously wanted to raise responsible kids, but it's hard. When I was born in 1974, so if you're like me, you grew up with Judy Blume, Free to Be You and Me, the Star Wars saga, our parents had it easy, okay? Now, there's so much media out there and so little time to screen it all that, frankly, it's hard. And the landscape is fraught with peril. There are a number of problems. The first, media messes with your parenting game. You've spent a lot of time figuring out how you want to raise your kids, and now media is going behind your back and making your kids do things that you really don't want them to do. For example, Hop on Pop ought to be called Hop on Pop's Tender Bits until he screams in pain. And you'll notice, if you look at this, that the kids are ecstatic, but the dad is terrified. This is not a fun game. Problem number two, your kid's behavior. The moral of this story is, it's okay to let the freaky hipster in the house as long as he's wearing a fun hat and promises he'll clean everything up before your parents get home and find out. Similarly, the video Pingu, starring two little penguins who break a window and then hide until the authorities go away, and then it's okay because nobody found out. So that's the moral of the story, I guess. So if messing with your parenting game is a problem, messing with my wallet is an even bigger problem. And here, we know that since the dawn of recorded history, media has been used to sell stuff. And now it's used to sell stuff to kids. This has been going on for a while. When I was a kid, we had He-Man, G.I. Joe. But the marketers have gotten really sneaky. They're not just selling action figures anymore. Now, when you buy a train set, and our house is littered with geotracks, when you buy a train set, they include a DVD. This DVD is full of stories. These stories star all of the products that you were going to buy after you let your kids watch the DVD that came with the train set. So you can kind of see how one thing leads to another. Now, if you're looking for some video for kids that's fairly innocuous, pretty soothing, you could do a whole lot worse than Kipper. Kipper's a super mellow British dog. He's kind of like a cross between Lebowski and 007. And he's actually a decent hangover cure, too, believe it or not. A slightly weightier issue, a harder one to deal with, is anachronism. Not every book written throughout the recorded history necessarily holds up to current cultural standards. And that can be tough when you're sitting at the dinner table trying to talk to your kids about things like alternative lifestyles. So, for example, or when you find yourself having to talk to them about it because of a book like Toodle, written in the 50s, you would think it's just about a hardworking engine that really wants to do good, until you see the hollyhocks and daisies and going off the rails and staying on the straight and narrow, and the repeated use of the word queer. It gets pretty obvious after a while what the author of this book was aiming at, and as the father of young boys, that's a little tough to deal with. Now, a little harder to deal with, and it's a little hard to see here because of the resolution, but Laura Ingalls Wilder, referring in Little House on the Prairie to savages and saying that the only good Indian is a dead Indian. That leads to some kind of painful conversations around the dinner table with 4-year-olds. Obviously, you want your kids to listen to your music. That's not always a good thing. You have to pay attention to what they're listening to and what you're listening to, or else you're going to hear I like big butts and I cannot lie coming out of a 3-year-old. And they will get all the words right at exactly the wrong time. Now, some kids' books are just plain bad, which is one of the big reasons that you have to read stuff ahead of time. If anybody ever asks you to read The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, run the other way. It's really long and it's really bad. So basically, what can you do as a parent? Well, there are great websites out there. commonsensemedia.org has some really good reviews of kids' books. Shelfari, which is a good book website, has some user groups discussing kids' books, but most importantly, you gotta screen stuff ahead of time. Read ahead of your kids, and check it out for yourself before you read it to them. Thanks.